Okay, we're on page 5. We're going to look at expanding algebraic expressions. Expanding means removing brackets, and to do this we use what's called the distributive law, where we distribute what's out front to each of the terms that are inside the bracket. Okay, and we are multiplying when we do so. So the expansion here, you get this result, and if there's a negative in the middle, we get a negative in that position there. Okay, just be careful with negative or minus signs. Alright, so first question there, expanding, that'll be 5x, and then the second bit, expanding, make sure you times it's going to be minus 45. 2 times 3 is 6, 3 times x is 3x. This one here, 2t times t becomes 2t squared, and then we're doing 3 times t, which is 3t. Okay, we write 3a squared, and it's going to be plus 4a. This one here, the 2 and the x are times, so it's both 2 and x times by each of the terms inside. So 2x times 3x, that becomes 6, and x times x is x squared. Minus, stays there, 2x times 5 is 10x. This one will be 5y times 1 is 5y. Minus 5y times 3y. That's going to become 15y squared. Now these last three examples we pay particular attention to because they start off with a negative. So I'm timesing negative 3y times the whole thing here. And when there's a negative outside the bracket, it changes the sign in the middle inside the bracket here. Okay, so let's have a look what happens. So we have negative 3y times 2, that's negative 6y. Then I've got a negative times a negative. So that's going to be a plus, okay? Remember, when we're expanding brackets, we're multiplying each time. And then I've got 3 times 3, which is 9, and then I've got y times y, which is y squared. Notice negative out the front, that sign there changed. Okay, let's do this one. Once again, we're multiplying by a negative number here. So that's going to change the sign for each of these terms. So that'll be negative 10x, and then negative 5 times by positive 8 is negative 40. Okay, another one we're timesing by negative 7a. Negative 7a times a is negative 7a squared, and a negative times a negative makes a positive, and that'll be 7ab. Alright, that's expanding. Now we'll do a couple where we expand and collect any like terms. That 2 will affect both guys inside the bracket. The 10 is outside the bracket, so it doesn't get multiplied by 2. Okay, collecting like terms. We always simplify our expression if possible. We get 2a plus 16 as the final answer. Next one. Collecting like terms here, I've got 3x's take away 7x's, negative 4x plus 3 is the answer. Here, this one, that 5 is by itself. You don't do 5 take away 2 first and make it a 3. You don't do that because of your BIDMAS. You need to be doing the timesing before you do the minusing. So we're timesing by negative 2 each of these guys in here, and the 5 is just going to hang out the front. Okay, we times before we minus. Okay, so negative 2 times y is negative 2y, negative 2 times positive 6 is negative 12. And now we can collect like terms. So that'll be negative 7 minus 2y. Okay, next one. We're timesing by 5a squared each. Now here there's 3 terms inside the bracket. It still works just like normal. Just each of those 3 terms need to be multiplied by 5a squared. So the answer should be 20a squared plus 15a cubed b minus 5a squared c. Okay, this one, we've got 2 brackets. Let's do the first bracket. That'll be 2b minus 10. For the second bracket, what's in front that we're timesing by? It's negative 1. So there's a 1 that's hidden there in front of that bracket. Or the other way you can think about it, if there's a negative and then there's a bracket, it just changes both signs in the bracket. So that'll become negative b, that'll become negative 3 when we expand. Collecting like terms, 2b's minus 1b is b, and then I've got minus 10 minus 3 minus 13. Okay, let's expand first bracket, 15a minus 5ab, second bracket, and remember that there's a negative there, be very careful with your negatives, so that's negative 3b, then I've got a negative times a negative making a positive 15ab. Let's have a look for any like terms. Do we have like terms? Yes, we've got ab's, so minus 5 plus 15, that's 10 ab's. 15a's and minus 3b. Now the order of those three terms doesn't really matter there. Okay, next one. Let's expand. We've got two brackets here to expand. So the first one, 4x plus 8, and then negative 2. Negative 2 times x is negative 2x, and the negative times a positive is a negative. Collect like terms. That'll be 2x's, and that'll be plus 6. Okay, next one. We're timesing the whole thing by negative 3x squared. So negative 15. Remember, you add the indices. 2 plus 2 is 4. Negative times positive is negative. That'll be 6. And then adding the indices will be x to the power of 6y. No like terms to collect there. This one here, negative times positive is negative 12. That'll be x to the power of 5, y plusing to the power of 7. Negative times negative is positive. 4 times 5 is 20. X to the power of 4. Y cubed times y squared, add. You get y to the power of 5, and we've got a z there. Okay, no like terms there, so that's the final answer. Alright, we might move on and we'll do these further two examples. And these are harder problems. Find an expression for the shaded area, answer in expanded form. There's a couple of ways to think about this problem. You can divvy it up into two rectangles like this, or you can divvy it up into two rectangles like this, or you can make it a whole big rectangle minus the smaller rectangle here. So there's a couple of ways to think about it. What I might try and do is figure out some information that's missing first. Okay, so let's have a think. What do I know? I know that that's 5, I know that that's 2, that's x. So if that's 2 and that's x, that means that this dash has to be, this length has to be this plus this. Which means that this dash here is also x plus 2. Okay, so I know the area, I know the dimensions of the rectangle on the outside, and I know the dimensions of this smaller rectangle that I can subtract. So I think that's probably the easiest way to do that. So the area is going to be the big rectangle, and the area of a rectangle is length times breadth. So it's 5 times x plus 2, and I need to put the x plus 2 in brackets because I'm doing 5 times all of x plus 2. So that would be the area of the huge rectangle, but then we need to minus the area of this small rectangle that's been removed. So minus, and that small rectangle that's been removed is x times x plus 2. Alright, now it says expanded form, so let's expand that. 5x plus 10, and expanding this minus x squared minus 2x. Collect like terms. Okay, 5x's take away 2x's is 3x's. The minus x squared stays separate and the plus 10 stays separate. The order of those three terms doesn't matter, but you need a negative in front of the x squared there. Last question. A tourism company constructs tours for groups of 20 to 50 people. For groups of 20, it's $3.80 per person. That's the cost. The price per person is reduced by $12 for each additional person over the 20. Write an expression in expanded form for the total cost group with n people. Alright, so let's start off by maybe writing this as a pattern. If you've got 20 people, it would be $3.80 per person. If I had 21 people, that's one additional person over 20. It would be $3.80, but then it would the price gets reduced by $12 per person. So minus $12, and I might put a times 1 there per person. If it was 22, it would be 380 minus 2 lots of $12 per person. This is the cost per person. So let's see if we can see a pattern here and write this as a pattern. Because I want to eventually work out, well, firstly I'm going to work out the cost per person for N people. I might put brackets in dollars there. So what I want you to note is that this number here, that 1, is 20 less than this. This number 2 is 20 less than this. Okay. So you have a 380. You've always got a minus 12. Now, and then we multiply by whatever number people take away 20. So whatever number people take away 20. I want you to convince yourself that that's the cost per person. So that's the cost per person. Now obviously that's assuming that the people are 20 to 50 like it says in the question. Now, is that what the question's asking for? Write an expression in expanded form for the total cost for a group. So the total cost is going to equal the cost per person times the number of people. So the cost per person we've worked out is 380 minus 12 bracket N minus 20. That's the cost per person. And then we need to take that and multiply by the number of people. Well, how many people are there? There are N people in the group, so that'll be times by N. So the total cost is going to be this expression. And it says in expanded form, so we need to expand this expression out. So let's do that. So 380 minus 12N, that's going to be a negative times a negative being a plus 240 times N. I'm going to collect like terms inside the brackets here. That's going to be 620 minus 12N times N. Okay, now to make it a bit clearer, I might put the N out the front, just so it looks like normal. Expanding again, we get 620N minus 12N squared. And that'll be the cost in dollars. So the final answer, 620N minus 12N squared. Alright, time for you to get on and do exercise 2C. Your homework will be to have finished everything up to and including 2C from today. Okay.